Have you ever been completely alone in a city of millions? That specific kind of loneliness isn't about being physically by yourself. It's the feeling that screams out in a packed subway car and gets swallowed by the noise. It's the realization that you could vanish in your own apartment, and the only thing that might notice is the automated reminder from a food delivery app. Your digital life is active, but your physical world has gone quiet. I know that feeling intimately. In 2021, I took a software developer job in a major coastal city. Let's keep it nameless, but think endless rain, glass skyscrapers, and a culture where keeping to yourself is the highest social virtue. My building was a sleek 30-story monument to efficiency. My unit was on the 24th floor. The walls were concrete. The floor was polished concrete. The view was of other concrete towers. I had moved for the career, leaving my entire social circle a 3-hour flight away. For the first month, the silence was a relief. By the third month, it had started to feel less like peace and more like a vacuum. I worked remotely for a company based in another time zone, which meant my office hours were from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. My waking life was permanently out of sync with the pulse of the city outside. The grocery delivery came at midnight. My most substantive conversations were with the AI chatbot in my project management software. I'd go days where the only human voice I heard was my own, muttering to the screen. This isolation built the perfect silent stage for the first story. It didn't start with a bang or a break-in. It started with a notification, the kind we all get and ignore 100 times a day. It was a Tuesday, or maybe a Wednesday the days bled together. Around 1 a.m., my phone buzzed with a push notification from the secure living app our building used. Motion detected. Shared laundry room, basement level. I remember frowning at it. The app gave residents optional alerts for common areas, a feature I'd enabled during move-in and immediately forgotten. The laundry room had motion sensors, likely to control lights and maybe for vague security. I almost swiped it away, but the timestamp got me. 1:07 a.m., the building rules, printed on a full parchment sheet in my welcome binder, clearly stated that the laundry rooms were closed for use between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. to prevent noise disturbance. A minor, sensible rule. So why was there motion? Curiosity, fueled by the hollow boredom of my nightly routine, overrode sense. I opened the app's live feed feature for the laundry room camera. The image was in grainy grayscale, lit by a single harsh LED fixture. It showed 8 white front-loading washers, 8 dryers, a folding table, and a sickly-looking potted plant in the corner. Nothing moved. The room was empty. I watched the static image for a full minute, feeling foolish. A glitch, a moth flying too close to the sensor. I locked my phone and went back to work. The next night, it happened again. Motion detected. Shared laundry room, basement level. 1:07 a.m. on the dot. A cold digital precision to it. This time, a low-grade alarm bell went off in my head. Coincidences are one thing, patterns are another. I opened the live feed. Again, the empty, silent room. I took a screenshot. For what? I didn't know. Night 3. I was waiting for it. My eyes flicked to the clock on my monitor. 1:06 a.m. I pulled up the live feed window on my desktop, leaving it in the corner of my screen. At 1 hour 7 minutes and 3 seconds, the notification popped up. On the feed, nothing changed. The room remained still. I was about to dismiss it as a persistent sensor fault when I saw it. A single dark droplet fell from the top of the frame, splattering on the gray concrete floor between the washing machines. Then another. A slow, steady drip. My breath hitched. Was it a leak? A pipe from the ceiling? I leaned closer, squinting. The droplet didn't look like water. It was too viscous, leaving a slight, shadowy smear on the feed. As I watched, frozen, a hand entered the frame from the bottom edge. It didn't walk into view. It slid into view, palm down, fingers splayed, dragging itself across the floor. It was a man's hand, broad and dirty. It moved with a terrible, sluggish determination, crawling like a wounded insect toward the drain in the center of the floor. The dripping was coming from it. From him, Pure primal revulsion shot through me. I fumbled for my phone to call the building's 24-hour concierge line. My hands were slick with sweat. As it rang, my eyes were glued to the feed. The hand had reached the drain cover. It paused, then curled its fingers around the grated metal. With a horrific straining pull, it began to drag the rest of the unseen body toward the drain, as if trying to squeeze itself down into the pipes. "Front desk, how can I help you?" a bored voice answered. "The laundry room," I stammered, my voice tight. There's someone in the laundry room. They're hurt. Or something. I'm watching on the camera feed." "The laundry room is closed, sir," the voice said, a scripted monotone. "Access hours are 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. "I know that. Just look at the camera." "Basement level. Right now." I heard the faint click of a keyboard. A pause that stretched too long. "Sir, I'm looking at the live feed for the basement laundry room. There's no one there. The room is empty and the lights are off." "That's impossible." My voice was a whisper. On my screen, the hand was still there, gripping the drain. "He's right there. He moving." "The system shows no motion alerts for that room tonight, sir. Perhaps your app is malfunctioning. You can submit a maintenance ticket online." The second incident made me question my own mind more deeply than the phantom in the laundry room. This wasn't about a digital glitch or a creepy camera feed. This was about the one thing I thought I could trust, the sanctity of my own apartment. The concrete box I paid a small fortune for, specifically because its listing boasted premium soundproofing. My neighbor to the east, 24B, was a ghost. I'd never seen them. No footsteps, no music, no TV hummed through the walls. Just silence. I assumed it was an empty unit or someone even more reclusive than I was. The neighbor to the west, 24D, was Mr. Armitage. I'd met him once at the mailboxes, a man in his late 70s with impeccably combed white hair and a cardigan who told me he lived here since the building opened in 1985. "They don't build them this solid anymore," he'd said, rapping a knuckle on the hallway wall. He was right. From inside my unit, the city was a muted painting. I heard nothing. That changed in October. It started as a vibration, more felt than heard. A deep, rhythmic thump, thump, thump. It was so low frequency, it seemed to originate in my own bones. A subaudible pulse. It would start around 9 p.m. and last for exactly 1 hour. I placed my hand on the wall I shared with the vacant 24B. The concrete was faintly trembling. I spent nights trying to logic it out. A giant washing machine on a heavy spin cycle? Industrial ever kicking on? But the timing was too precise, the duration too exact. I downloaded a spectrum analyzer app on my phone. When the thumping started, the app showed a spike at 27 Hz of frequency near the lower limit of human hearing, more vibration than sound. It was the frequency I learned from a frantic internet deep dive that can induce feelings of dread and even visual hallucinations in some people. The fear frequency. Confronting a non-existent neighbor was impossible. I finally mentioned it to Mr. Armitage in the hallway, feeling like a nuisance. "Oh, that," he said, not looking up from fumbling with his mailbox key. "That's just the building settling. The wind from the bay gets channeled between the towers, makes the whole spine sway a little. You get used to it." His explanation was tidy, engineering-based. It should have been comforting, but he'd said spine, not frame, not structure. Spine. I tried to get used to it. But the thumping evolved. After 2 weeks, I began to hear the texture of it. It wasn't a clean mechanical pulse anymore. There was a wet, organic give at the end of each thump, a soft, crushing finality. Thump squelch. Thump squelch. One night, driven by compulsion I still don't understand, I did something stupid. I took a heavy drinking glass from my cupboard, pressed its rim flush against the wall of 24B, and put my ear to the base. The old stethoscope trick. The sound that flooded into my ear canal wasn't just a thump. It was a symphony of horror. Underneath the primary vibration was a chorus of smaller, sharper sounds. a brittle crackling, like twigs snapping, a wet, fibrous tearing, and a sound I can only describe as a low, shuddering sigh that seemed to ride the tail of every thump. It wasn't machinery. It was a process. A terrible physical process happening on the other side of 18 inches of reinforced concrete. I tore the glass away from the wall, my heart hammering. The mundane sounds of my apartment, the fridge hum, the fan of my laptop felt obscenely loud in contrast. I called the front desk again, this time reporting a persistent, disturbing vibrational noise from a neighboring unit, possibly 24B. The concierge promised to send someone from maintenance to investigate the empty unit. The next evening, a small printed slip was slid under my door. Notice of inspection. Unit 24B. No structural or mechanical anomalies found. No source of audible noise identified. Please contact management if issue persists. It was signed with a scribble. The thumping continued that night, as regular as a heartbeat. My breaking point came 3 nights later. The thump squelch was particularly pronounced. I had a headache from the constant, gut-churning vibration. In a fit of frustration and fear, I did the only thing I could think of. I knocked on Mr. Armitage's door. He answered after a long moment, still in his cardigan. The faint smell of mothballs and cooked cabbage wafted out. "Mr. Armitage," I said, my voice strained. "The noise. From next door. It's worse. The management says there's nothing there." He looked at me with a pity that felt ancient. "You're a sensitive listener," he said, not a question. "Most people never notice. They're too busy with their own noise." He glanced past me, down the empty, fluorescently lit hallway. This building, it was built on old pilings, dock worker land. Sometimes, it's not the building that settles. He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice to a confidential murmur. Sometimes things that were packed down get stirred up. They find a rhythm, a pattern. They remember how to move. "What are you talking about?" I whispered. He shook his head, the moment of strange candor gone. "Just the wind, son. Just the wind in the spine. You should get a white noise machine. Good night." He closed the door softly but firmly. I stood in the hallway, more unsettled than before. His words felt like a key to a lock I didn't want to open. I went back inside. The thumping was there, waiting. I couldn't bear it. I grabbed my keys, my jacket, and fled the apartment. I spent the night in the blinding, soulless light of a 24-hour internet cafe downtown, surrounded by the tapping of keyboards, a sound that felt clean and safe. When I returned the next morning, exhausted, the thumping had stopped, not just paused, gone. The silence was absolute, heavier than before. It has never returned. A month after that, I saw a moving crew clearing out Mr. Armitage's unit. I asked the building manager where he'd gone. "Oh, Mr. Armitage passed," she said cheerfully, checking off a clipboard. "Peacefully, in his sleep, families handling the estate. Nice man, quiet." Unit 24D was relisted a week later. The ad highlighted its quiet interior-facing position and excellent soundproofing. I sometimes wonder if the thumping stopped because it finished its work, if it found whatever rhythm it was remembering. And I can't look at the smooth blank wall where 24B sits without thinking about what premium soundproofing is really for. Is it to keep noise out, or is it to keep something else in? The first 2 events chipped away at my sense of reality within the building. The third one severed it completely. It involved the only consistent human interaction I had, my grocery deliveries. Every Saturday at 11 p.m., like clockwork, a bag would appear outside my door from a premium no-contact service. I'd order the same basic things: coffee, eggs, pre-made salads, protein bars. The drill was always the same. The app would ping, "Your order has been delivered." I'd wait 2 minutes as security habit opened the door and retrieved the bag from the mat. One Saturday, the ping came at 10:57 p.m. early. I thought nothing of it. At 11:02, I opened the door. The bag was there. Standard green recyclable paper, but it felt wrong. It was too light. I picked it up and brought it inside. Sitting at my kitchen island, I opened it. Inside were not my groceries. There was a single whole raw artichoke, a small ornate glass vial of honey, sealed with wax, and a brand new high-quality chef's knife, its steel blade gleaming under my kitchen lights. No note, no invoice, no packing slip. A profound, icy wrongness settled in my stomach. This wasn't a delivery mistake. Mistakes involve wrong brands, wrong quantities. They don't involve curated, symbolic items and weapon-grade cutlery. My mind raced. Had I been hacked? Was this some terrifyingly elaborate threat? I checked the app. My order was marked delivered. The items listed were my usual ones. I took photos of the bizarre contents and contacted support immediately, reporting a dangerous mix-up. The canned apology email came an hour later. Deeply regret the error. Investigate with our fulfillment partner. Refund issued. Please dispose of incorrect items. It did nothing to calm me. I wrapped the knife in a dish towel, placed it with the artichoke and honey back in the bag, and shoved it into the back of a cupboard. I didn't sleep. The next Saturday, my heart was in my throat as 11 p.m. approached. The app pinged at 11 o'clock exactly. I watched through the peephole for 5 full minutes. The hallway was empty. I opened the door slowly. The bag was there. It was heavier this time. I brought it in, my hands trembling. I unpacked it on the floor, not the counter. My groceries were all there. The correct coffee, eggs, everything. Nestled on top of them, however, was another item. A small porcelain figurine of a rabbit. It was old, the glaze slightly crackled. One of its long ears was chipped. It was clearly an antique, a personal belonging. It felt deeply intimate and utterly out of place. Support was useless again. No record of supplemental items. Could be a packing error from a previous order. You may keep or dispose. The phrase, packing error, had lost all meaning. This pattern continued for a month. Every Saturday, I would receive my correct order, but with a single unexplained additive. After the figurine came a man's silver cufflink, monogrammed with a stylized R. Then a pressed dried violet in a tiny plastic sleeve. Then a single page torn from a German language physics textbook discussing quantum superposition. It was the page that changed my understanding. This wasn't random. This was a conversation or a profile being built. The items weren't just creepy. They were specific, organic, artistic, intellectual, personal. They felt like answers to a question I hadn't asked. Like something was trying to compose a person for me, piece by piece. The dread was constant, but it was a low hum. Until the night of the 6th delivery. That Saturday, the ping came at 11 p.m. I didn't open the door. I sat in the dark of my living room, staring at the sliver of light underneath it. I heard a sound, not the rustle of a bag being set down, not retreating footsteps. It was the sound of someone sitting down. A soft fabric against floor whisper, followed by the faintest creak of weight settling. Then, silence. Someone was sitting on the floor, on the other side of my door. My blood turned to slurry. I couldn't move. I checked the peephole. It showed a distorted fish-eye view of the empty hallway ceiling. Whoever it was, they were sitting directly below its field of view, pressed against my door. We stayed like that, separated by 3 inches of steel and wood, for 27 minutes. I timed it. The only sound was my own strangling breathing. Then I heard it get up. The same soft sounds in reverse. A single light footstep. Then nothing. I waited another 10 minutes before cracking the door open. The hallway was empty. My grocery bag was there. On top of it, placed neatly center, was the final item. It was a key. Not a modern, laser-cut apartment key. An old-fashioned, heavy brass skeleton key, cold to the touch. Tied to it, with a red thread, was a small tag. On it, typed in a stark, classic font, was an apartment number. 2401. My apartment was 2407. 2401 was at the far west end of the corridor, around 2 corners. The unit was according to the building directory in the lobby, labeled Private Nitrogen Monoxide Access. I'd always assumed it was a maintenance or electrical closet. The key burned in my hand. This was an invitation, or a summons. The logical move was to call the police, to give the key to building security. But a deeper, more terrified part of me knew that logic had left this building weeks ago. If I involved authority, it would vanish. The system would explain it away again. I would be left with the mystery, forever festering. I didn't sleep that night. At 3 a.m., driven by a compulsion that felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, I left my apartment. The hallway was a tunnel of silent, identical doors. I walked to 2401. The door was unmarked, painted the same bland beige as all the others. I held the brass key. It slid into the lock with a smooth, well-oiled click. It turned. The mechanism thudded open with a solidity that echoed in the silent hall. I pushed the door. It swung inward silently. The space beyond was not a closet. It was an apartment, but utterly empty. No furniture, no lights, just the gray concrete floor and walls, and the city's ambient glow through a wall of floor-to-ceiling windows. And in the center of that vast, empty space, illuminated by the grid of city lights, was a single familiar green recyclable bag. I walked toward it, my footsteps echoing. I didn't want to open it. I already knew. Inside was not an object. It was every item I had been given over the past weeks. The artichoke, now withered and black. The honey vial. The knife. The rabbit figurine. The cufflink. The dried violet. The textbook page. All arranged in a neat, deliberate circle. And in the very center of that circle, placed with chilling care, was a recent clear photograph. A photo of me taken from outside through the window of my own apartment as I sat working at my desk. The time stamp in the corner of the photo read that very night, 8:37 p.m. There was no one else in the apartment. No sound, just the hum of the city and the evidence of a silent, perfect observation. I took nothing. I left everything in its sacred circle. I backed out, locked the door, and kept the key. I never received another anomalous delivery. The regular groceries came, clean and simple. The silence from 24B remained. The laundry room drain stayed dry. It was over. Or it had achieved its purpose. I moved out 2 months later. The official reason was a job relocation. The real reason was that I finally understood what urban isolation truly breeds. It's not just loneliness, it's a vacuum. And in a vacuum, attention becomes a tangible force. Something in that building, a system, a person, a history, or a combination of all three had identified me as a perfect subject, isolated, observant, and already questioning my own sanity. It didn't want to hurt me. It wanted to conduct me, to see how I'd react to its slowly escalating symphony of the uncanny. It was a test of perception, and by seeing it, by following it to 2401, I had passed. And in passing, I had proven I was no longer a suitable subject. I had become aware of the experiment. I live in a smaller city now, in a wooden house that creaks with the wind. I can hear my neighbors arguing sometimes, and a dog barks down the street. The noise is a comfort. It's real. It's messy. It doesn't follow a pattern. We think of horror as something that invades from the outside, a monster from the dark. But the most profound terror I've ever experienced was engineered by my own environment. It was the horror of perfect, sterile silence being used as a canvas. The horror of realizing that the systems built for your comfort and security, soundproofing, delivery apps, security cameras, can be the very tools that isolate and study you. That in the heart of a connected world, you can be made into a perfect solitary specimen. The city isn't haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by emptiness. And in that emptiness, something is always watching, waiting to see who will notice the patterns it leaves behind. If you find one, my only advice is this: stop looking, or be prepared to see what looks back. Thank you for listening. If you've had an experience where the modern world itself seemed to turn against you, I'd like to hear about it in the comments. Until next time, stay aware of the patterns.